Merry meet everyone, Neve here with the Rainbow Cauldron, and this is your weekly general reading for December 3rd through the 9th, 2017. Alright, so this is a new month, the month of December, so we have a new background. I kind of went with something Christmassy, I guess, you know, reds and greens and golds and things like that. And for this month, we are going to use the Druid Animal Oracle deck, which I am excited to use because I haven't used this in a long time and it's one of my favorite decks. And I'm also going to use the Green Witch Tarot, and this was the box that came in the big box. This was the book that came with it. Green Witch Tarot Companion by Anne Mora. Yeah, and actually I have not really had a chance to work with this deck. I got it about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I just, I haven't really gotten a chance to really work with this deck, so I am excited to work with this deck. Alright, so if you're new to this, what I do is I draw one card from an oracle deck, and that will represent the general theme of the week. And then I draw 3 cards from a tarot deck, and that will represent the general flow of energy throughout the week. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so the first card, the oracle card, is the Stag. Alright, great. Okay, so the Stag, or Dav. The Stag obviously is something that represents a lot of pride and independence, strength and integrity, really, like, you know, making your voice heard, being strong and dignified. And yeah, so actually I'm going to read the passage for the Stag in the booklet that came with this deck. Excuse me. So sometimes I like to do this. Sometimes I like to read the passage from the books that come with these, because every tarot deck, every oracle deck is different, so they're all going to have their own energy. So this one, keywords: pride, independence, purification. Dav, which is the, I'm guessing the Irish word for stag, Dav brings grace, majesty, and integrity. And if you ever feel vulnerable or under scrutiny, attuning to the Stag and asking for the protection of his spirit will bring you calmness, strength, and dignity. He will also help you to gain and maintain independence. In Ogham, the Druid language of the sacred trees, the Stag is related to Be, the birch tree, and the number 1. So that's important, the number 1, which is linked to the beginning, the blessing of beginnings. It's auspicious to draw this card when considering new projects. The Stag's connection with fertility and sexuality signifies that you will bring dignity, grace, power, and integrity to your sexual life. Alright, so dignity and pride is something we're seeing strongly with the Stag here, and also a strong connection to sexuality, fertility, and new beginnings, something starting. So that's great, especially since this is the first week of this month, so it's great to have a new beginnings and a really auspicious beginning for this month. So that's great. All right, let's move on to the tarot cards now. So the back of this deck is just very lovely. I really love the back of this deck. All right, so for the first card we have the She, which this is, in traditional tarot, this is Temperance. It's 14, the She. And then we have the Queen of Athames, or Swords. In this deck, it's Athames. And then finally we have, the 10 of Chalices. Okay. All right, so I can already tell that this is just overall a pretty positive reading here, and that's great since we got a very auspicious card for the beginning of the month. A a positive beginning is what we're seeing here, and right here at the 10 of chalices, we're seeing a lot of family connections, which makes sense. This is December, and this is a time for most of us when we are spending a lot of time with family. And it's just a general overall nice flow of energy and a very positive feeling that I'm getting from this reading for this week, which is really great. So for Temperance here, the she. This is one of the major arcana cards, 14. So Temperance, or the she in this case, is representing a balance of two worlds. And that is what we see when we're talking about the she, because they are what we would call ultra-terrestrials. Not extraterrestrials, not like aliens, not something away from our Earth, but ultra meaning here on this Earth, just in a different dimension. So that's really what the she are. They are beings in a different dimension. So Temperance, the card, represents a balance of two worlds, and so it is fitting to have the she here represented. And what this is we're having careful, thoughtful, and purposeful actions, a lot of focus, wisely chosen words, diplomacy, those sorts of feelings is what I'm seeing here. So it's sort of acting with intention and being careful, and but it's not like in a negative way. It's where we've got two things in our lives right now, and we're bringing them together harmoniously and carefully and really balancing them out. So there you go. And that energy is really carried over here with the Queen of Athmes. And these two women almost look very similar. I almost think they're the same woman, but there are some slight differences, so it's almost like they're, but yeah, anyway. So here with the Queen of Athmes, it's a lot of the same sort of feelings. It's a diplomatic sort of good communication, and that's what we're seeing with both of these cards is a good amount of diplomacy, choosing your words wisely, being a good communicator. This card is more about intelligence and communication, and mature advice. So when we see cards from the like the queens and kings, those cards, they generally represent people in our lives, or they could represent aspects of ourselves. So here we're seeing listen to the wise advice, listen to the mature advice you're probably getting, or the mature advice you would give yourself, rational thought. And but the downside is that the Queen of Athmes is also tends to be a little too analytical, and therefore overly critical of herself. So that's something you have to be careful about here, is try not to be so overcritical of yourself, but be wise and mature and rational. And then, of course, as we've just discussed, the 10 of chalices, happy home life, positive family interactions, just openness, happiness, emotional connections, and what a great way to end this week. Just and it's funny because this card is a lot more emotional than these cards. Where with the stag, we're seeing some dignity, pride, independence, which is also what we see here, independence. But we're also marrying two worlds. So we're marrying a world of emotions with the world of rational thought. And I think it's being married very well this week. So yeah, basically the main advice, try not to be overly critical of yourself. So the main advice here is to just try not to be overly critical of yourself. Listen to rational advice, mature advice. Have a balanced approach to opposing forces, and really enjoy some quality time with your loved ones and those close around you. And what a nice way to end this week. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you later. Blessed be. Bye.